finally relieved to say that it's over, completely over, and be here sharing all of the results with you all. Hello there, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Lena, an incoming medical student in the US who applied to medical schools in the 2020 to 2021 application cycle. And in this video, I'm finally going to announce all the results of my application cycle and also where I will be attending medical school. I have long waited to make this video because the results of the waitlist didn't come out until July. So now here I am finally revealing the results with you all. I'll be going over a brief overview of my background as an applicant, including my stats, GPA, MCAT, all the interviews I have received, as well as where I will be attending medical school. Also, a few thoughts on this application cycle. Hopefully, you will get some insight on what this process looks like through me sharing my experience. So without further ado, let's begin. Overall, I applied to 16 schools in total. In terms of the timeline, the first thing I prepared for was the letters of recommendation. I started asking professors and potential recommenders early on in February of my application year. And I took the MCAT on March 14th, 2020. I got the results back on April 15th, 2020. And I submitted my primary application on the second day that the MCAT system was open for submission, which was May 29th, 2020. Then comes around 1.5 months of wait for your primary application to get verified and transmitted to schools. And then starting July 10th of 2020, I started receiving secondaries from schools and then submitting the secondaries within 2 weeks of receiving the secondaries. This is not a harsh deadline, it's just a deadline I set for myself. For a more detailed review of this whole timeline, please check out an upcoming video that I will be uploading. For MCAT, I scored a 515, which is 91 percentile, and for GPA, I scored 3.88 for overall GPA, and I have a BCPM, which is a science GPA, of 3.86. Prior to applying to medical school, I was working as a full-time teacher for Teach for America. I was really interested in healthcare equity and healthcare access in college and even when I was a teacher. In addition to medicine, I was also interested in healthcare policy and public health. I really wanted to go to a field in the primary care settings and considering a Master of Public Health, a MPH. So I was trying to show all of this in my application, in my personal statement, works and activities section. And all of those are shown on other videos in my channel, so feel free to check them out and use them as a resource. I mainly was looking at schools with a community health focus, has a focus of serving the underserved, as well as the possibility of doing a dual degree in Master of Public Health. So first of all, the VITA interviews. Because of COVID-19, all of the interviews were conducted virtually this year, and VITA Interview was a platform that schools get to choose to opt into. Basically, it presents you with 6 questions, one at a time, and it gives you 1 minute to read the question and 3 minutes to record your response. All of the videos are sent to the schools that have requested it. There are 2 schools that opted into the system and requested the video recording from me. First of all was Stanford University. They requested this VITA interview from me on October 29th, 2020. I think for Stanford this year, VITA served basically as a pre-screen. They want to know more about you based on your application, but also didn't think that you were good enough for them to invite you directly to an interview. So that unfortunately happened to me. After recording the VITA interview, I didn't hear back for a few months until in February I got the rejection from them. Another school that requested the VITA interview from me was New York University at Long Island. They requested it on February 7th, 2020. So for NYU Long Island this year, the VITA interview served as part of their interview process. So when you're getting this VITA interview, you're getting the formal interview at the same time. So after the submissions of all of the secondaries in July and August, then comes the long, dreadful wait of your first interview. I got my very first interview from University of California at Davis. I received the secondary on July 13th, 2020, and I submitted it on July 21st. After 2 months, I received their invitation to interview, and that was on September 23rd, 2021. As you can see, I've waited 2 months for them to review the application and then send me this invite for interview. It's a process that really tests your patience. I still remember how thrilled I was when receiving this interview because it was my very first one. Literally, I had a very rough day at work, and then when I got the email, my tears from work immediately turned into like a whole night through which I couldn't stop smiling. After all of the work that you have done, there's actually one school that actually is interested in you, and I scheduled it to the latest date provided possible to October 26, 2020. For more details on how to prepare for your medical school interview, feel free to check out this video up here. Their interview format was MMI, which is multiple mini interview. Basically, there's a few stations, and at each station there's a different evaluator. They will post the prompt for you, give you time to read the prompt, and then give you around 3 to 5 minutes to answer the prompt, and they could ask follow-up questions. They're really committed to community health. You could see from how many student clinics they have. I think they have around 12 student clinics. It's an urban setting. They have a class size of around 120 plus people and a very, very diverse student body. Overall, this was a school that matched with me in terms of the school values and mission. In terms of stats, for matriculating students from last year's class, they have a median GPA of 3.7 and median MCAT score of 510. So for both, in terms of stats, I was slightly above the medium GPA and the medium MCAT. So after the first interview with Davis, I received my second interview from Emory School of Medicine, and I received their secondary application on July 15th of 2020 and submitted their secondary on July 22nd. After 3 months, I received their invitation to interview, which was October 22nd, 2020. I scheduled my interview to November 9th, 2020. And the interview format was different from Davis. It was a one-on-one interview plus a group interview. From my undergrad experiences, I know there's a lot of great research opportunities, accessible faculty in the School of Medicine. Students also get really great clinical experiences at Grady Memorial Hospital, which is one of the largest trauma centers in the nation and also the top 5 largest hospitals in the nation. So this was also a big selling point of Emory School of Medicine on interview day. In terms of GPA and MCAT, I was around the medium range. They have accepted student as a 515 and a medium GPA as 3.7. Interview day impressions, because it was one-on-one and in a group setting, all of the interviews felt like a conversation, and I felt really relaxed compared to other interviews that I have received. On the other side, because I was so relaxed, I really didn't know like how I did and how they evaluate you. And the third interview I got was Kaiser Permanente School of Medicine. I received their secondary on July 10th of 2020 and submitted their secondary on July 17th of 2020. So after 3 months, I received the interview on October 9th. The time of the interview was October 27th. The interview format again was MMI, a multiple mini interview, because it's a fairly new school and they only have one class so far. They offer free tuition for the first 5 entering classes. They really focus on primary care and the commitment to the community. So again, it really aligned with what I presented. So for the last year students that they have admitted, they had a median GPA of 3.85 and median MCAT of 515. So I was also around the median range. Considering that there's only 50 seats open to 10,000 plus applicants, I definitely felt thrilled to receive this interview. I feel like the school really is trying to integrate a lot of new ideas about learning into a medical student's education. For example, they have virtual reality for their anatomy classes and problem-based learning as one of the main ways for students to learn. On one hand, it could be frustrating that a lot of things like student clubs or even some of the curriculum were still in development. On the other hand, that means the school will really value the students' feedback. So for the 4th interview, it was from New York University at Long Island. I received their secondary on July 10th of 2020 and submitted their secondary July 19th of 2020. This interview came pretty late in my whole application process. It came on February 7th of 2021, and the time of the interview was February 18th of 2021. Interview format again was MMI, multiple mini interview. For this program, they only admit 24 students. Yes, 24 students. It's an accelerated program. They mainly want to train primary care physicians within 3 years. So it's not your typical medical school that you get to graduate after 4 years. This is a program that is really for students who want to go into primary care, almost know what specialty they want to do in the future, and finish it up within 3 years. They also offer free tuition to all of the incoming students. It is located on Long Island, so it's like 30-40 minutes away from New York City. Similar to Kaiser Permanente, they have a very small student body and it's a very newly established program that focuses on primary care. So during the student panels, I remember one of the students saying the favorite part is that because of such a small size of students, you really get the professor's full attention. It's also a very tight-knit, collaborative community. Upon acceptance to their medical school program, there's also guaranteed residency at NYU Langone Health, based on the specialty you have indicated interest on when you're applying to their schools, like in their secondary application. The results. Among 4.5 interviews, if you count VITA interviews, I received 1 acceptance, 2 waitlists, and 1 rejection after these interviews. I got the results of the waitlist starting in March 2021, and after a long wait until early July, I still haven't heard back about the waitlist results. So now I am going to the one school that I am accepted at, which is University of California at Davis School of Medicine. So I'm more than grateful about the results of this application cycle, and I really don't have the burden of choosing from multiple options and fear of missing out on whatever option that you did not choose. It's really a true demonstration of one acceptance is all you need in the medical school application process. It has been a very rough, crazy application cycle during the COVID pandemic, and I'm finally relieved to say that that it's over, completely over, and be here sharing all of the results with you all. So it ended as I withdrew my 2 waitlist positions at the schools I was waitlisted at. I'm really grateful to be in this position because I feel like University of California at Davis School of Medicine, their school's mission and values really aligns with why I want to go into medicine in the first place. And I'm really excited to be starting school in the fall. I really genuinely want to say thank you for being here and giving me the space to share all the ups and downs of this application cycle of my pre-med journey with you all. If you have not yet, you could check out my other videos on my application cycle, including the rejections and the moment I received my first acceptance, all on my YouTube channel. Also, different tips and advices for you to develop your medical school application. So reflecting on this whole application process, I would definitely say that I should have applied to more schools, not just 16 schools for sure. I applied pretty top heavy, but considering I was a resident in California, my race and ethnicity is overrepresented in medicine. Getting 1 acceptance, I felt extremely fortunate given the number of schools that I applied to. If you are a future applicant, apply to more than 16 schools, at least 20 schools, if your finances allow you to do that. So if it weren't for this 1 acceptance, I would probably be anxiously waiting about the results from my waitlist and also having to reapply for the next application cycle, which is 2021 to 2022. This whole application cycle was so different because of COVID. All of the interviews were virtual this year. I always felt that the interviews might be better in person, especially for the VITA interview, for the interview where you had to virtually record yourself and answer their prompts. I felt I wasn't well prepared enough and I didn't have much experiences. If you were also applying during this cycle and you got into medical school, a huge congrats to you. If you applied but didn't get into medical school and are trying to reapply next year, don't be discouraged at all, because in fact 1/3 of the applicants applying each year are reapplicants. With experience of this cycle, it will only make you a stronger applicant for the next cycle. For those of you who are applying in the future who have not yet applied, really the best of luck in your pre-med journey. Applying to medical school is definitely a very arduous process. You will cultivate so much resilience, patience, and grace. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope my experiences provided you with some insight on how this application process looks like. Please give this video a thumbs up if you have found the content helpful or enjoyable, and subscribe to my channel to follow along with my journey to medical school and in medical schools. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.